Welcome to this edition of Beyond the Podium. I'm Kenny Bass, and I am with Republican gubernatorial candidate and current West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrisey. Thank you again for coming by the studio. Always good to see you.
It's good to be with you, Kenny. Thank you.
We've talked before previous elections, and now we're going to talk before this one. About less than a month out.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about how the race has gone from the spring to the summer to now?
I feel very good because I think voters know there's one proven conservative running here in West Virginia and someone with a record of getting big things done for the state. Whether it's taking on the drug epidemic and having the top-rated opioid settlements of the country, or suing the Biden administration or Obama administration, protecting thousands of West Virginia jobs, we've stepped up and we fought to protect every West Virginian. And I think about the opportunities to serve as governor. We're going to be able to do so much good to lift up that standard of living, to drive educational attainment while we keep our West Virginia values. So it's been going very well. I'm excited to close this out and really get to work for the people.
Let's talk about some differences between you and your opponent, Huntington Mayor Steve Williams, Democratic candidate. You talk about you're the proven conservative. Obviously, he's much more liberal. He's running as a Democrat, obviously, and Huntington has some fairly liberal policies, and he's been successful in Huntington with those. But how would you define your characteristics as a politician, your beliefs versus his?
Well, I think the first one we should start out is that I'm the only candidate running who's been endorsed by President Donald J. Trump. I think that's significant because I'm very hopeful that Donald Trump wins the presidency, and West Virginia needs a governor who could work closely with him. Think about it right away when you can go in with a list of different issues. You can work with him to help West Virginia, but separately to make sure that you're helping President Trump advance his agenda. Obviously, my opponent's not going to be able to do that, and he's very tied into this whole Biden-Harris regime. They're far left, they're woke. So I think the biggest difference is that philosophically, they're really out there. They're extreme. Compared to, I think we stand up for everyday values here in West Virginia, and I think President Trump's support proves that.
Words have different meanings for different people. So let me ask you a couple of things that you just mentioned. What are everyday values that you stand for? How do you define that, and what makes that your core?
Well, let's start with what's going on with the economy right now. The reality is that Biden-Harris have caused so many problems here in West Virginia. The inflation has hit our state and our citizens very, very hard. When you tried to mess around with what they did to energy and then made a lot of the other spending decision, then prices went through the roof. That inflation has hurt West Virginians. I'm going to work with President Trump to fight back against that. Now, obviously, we need to have a vibrant energy industry here in West Virginia, and we have to make sure that we're really restraining a lot of the out-of-control government spending that you've seen on the other side. So I think that's a big difference between myself and my opponent.
You also mentioned woke, and referring to Mayor Williams. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, I think what we're talking about is that there's some people on the other side of the spectrum who actually want to change the rules to fit a very small number of people. So I give the example, for instance, my opponents and people on the other side want to have men play sports with women. I think that's outrageous, and in fact, I'm defending the law that prohibits men playing sports with women. That's a clear difference, and it's designed to help a very small group of people at the expense of treating everyone else the same and at the expense of our traditional values and our ways that we protect our women.
In your campaign, you've had advertisements, commercials. You're on social media, you're on broadcast television. You've been in public events. You were just at a parade over the weekend. There are many ways to get your name out, one of which is a debate. And there was some question about whether there would be a debate or not. A debate is scheduled.
Yeah.
Your thoughts about debates and the value that they provide once you are side by side with the man you're running against?
Look, I think it's important, and that's why I've agreed to a debate. There are a lot of people that told me it wasn't in my interest to do a debate, but I've always been consistent from the time I started running that I think having a one-on-one debate is very positive. And that's what I've done. I've agreed to do it because I think even if it doesn't benefit you politically, there's certain things that are the right thing to do, and you should do them. And that's why there will be a debate in this campaign. And I think people will see the real differences between someone who's on the far left side of the spectrum versus a common sense conservative who's closely aligned with Donald Trump.
I remember the debates where he would show up and not necessarily have anybody else there with you, and you were there ready to debate.
Yeah, look, I'm telling you, we're not afraid of engagement and debate. I think people know that about me, and I feel very fortunate. I've had the ability to serve as 3 terms as the state attorney general. I love the state with every fiber in my being, and I think people know that we have a record of getting really big things done, whether it's successfully defending Hope Scholarship, fighting the drug epidemic, and having the best settlements in the country, #1 per person, or protecting so many energy jobs. We've been able to get it done at a level that I don't think other people can compete with, and that's what's exciting.
But between the primary campaign and this campaign, they're very different. The primary campaign was very divisive with a lot of candidates running. So a lot of negative campaigning from a lot of people. This has been much more genial, it seems like, more issue-oriented. As you approach the election, and as you're favored in the polls, obviously, the last thing I want to ask you is, how have those 3 terms that you've served already in the Capitol, just down the other end of the hallway from the governor's office, prepared you for this job?
I think a couple things. First, right now I'm crisscrossing the state. I'm going to every single one of the 55 counties because I want to show respect for every citizen of the state and let them know that I'm going to be a governor for all of the people. But one thing that has helped tremendously by serving as the state attorney general is that I'm ready on day 1 to run state government. And the reason I can say that is the state attorney general, you serve as the chief legal officer for all of these state agencies. You get a bird's eye view as to the problems that the state is facing, whether you're talking about educational attainment, standard of living, in terms of infrastructure, and many other issues. So I want to be able to apply all those lessons of knowing where the problems are in state government to go and to fix it, to address issues, to right-size government so it's prepared for the next 4 to 8 years.
Attorney General Morrisey, thank you very much for coming by. We appreciate it.
It's great to be with you.
Always good. Thank you very much. And that's this edition of Beyond the Podium. Thanks for joining us.